Well, I never thought I would get starstruck on my own show, but here we are. If you like Southern Miss baseball, I've got a peak baseball lineup for you right here from the coaching profession. First up, an absolute legend in the college baseball game. He's in 6 Hall of Fames, and he might be in more. I don't even know, but former Southern Miss head baseball coach Hill Denson. Next up, the legend himself. Led Southern Miss to hosting 2 super regionals and numerous 40-plus win seasons. The one and only former Southern Miss head baseball coach Scott Berry, and then current head coach, Coach Oz, Christian Ostrander, is doing an awesome job so far for the Golden Eagles, and taking the torch and running with it for sure. And enough for me talking right there, gentlemen. I can't thank you enough for being on my show today. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks, Marcia, for having us on.
Oh, this is a great deal, right? I'm trying not to be starstruck, I promise you, gentlemen. But, with the 3 of you, there's been a tremendous rise of Southern Miss baseball since 1984 when Coach Denson was hired. Coach Denson, you first. Looking back on Golden Eagle baseball and where it's at, its national prominence, what are you most proud of about Southern Miss baseball?
The whole thing, Marchant, is just going out to the ballpark and seeing what these guys have continued to do down there and bring it on. It's been great, and it's an honor for me to be on with Dumb and Dumber. So I'm glad to be here.
There you go. there he goes, Coach Denson. Feel free, keep it lighthearted as much as you want. Coach Berry, you looking back on your incredible career, what are you most proud of about Golden Eagle baseball?
Well, just honestly being able to take what I feel like was Hill's vision back there in the mid '80s and bringing a top 25 baseball program to Southern Miss and his vision of building it and something that people really wanted to come and invest in, and certainly we see that today. So being able to be a small part of that in his vision and seeing where it is today, and now watching Coach Oz take it, hopefully to another level, is really, really gratifying to me.
Awesome words right there. And Coach Oz, for you, I mean, being the head man in charge now, what are you most proud of about Golden Eagle baseball?
Well, I mean, just everything. For me personally, just this opportunity to, be after such great men like these, and Coach Palmer and Coach Taylor. I mean, that's an honor. That's unbelievable to me. But just what this place is, and I've gotten to experience some sharing the dugout with Coach Berry and knowing you feel it, you know what it takes, what it means, and program that's been to Omaha, so you got to believe you can get back and being able to do that. So that's the goal.
Good stuff right there. And the one thing so cool, a cool dynamic about Southern Miss baseball since 1959. Only 5 head coaches, 3 of them right here. Since then, 2 of them unfortunately aren't with us, the late, great Corky Palmer and the late, great Pete Taylor. First up, Coach Berry. I mean, you took the torch from Coach Corky Palmer. I mean, a beloved figure he was in the Golden Eagle world. I mean, what's some mentions you might want to talk about Coach Corky?
Just his passion for Southern Miss baseball. Our relationship started back in 1990 when I joined him on staff at Meridian Community College. Worked for him for 6 years there before he moved on to Southern Miss as Hill's assistant. And then I was fortunate enough to join Coach Palmer and his staff in 2000, the summer of 2000. And, I owe so much to Coach Palmer. I wish, he was here today so I could tell him personally. Of course, I was able to do that prior to his passing a couple of years ago. But, I feel like there's a lot of people that play key roles in your life and where you are. And certainly Coach Palmer was that person in my life and a lot of people's lives. He touched every player that he coached and every coach that coached underneath him. But, I think it was his passion for Southern Miss, his ability to take what Hill had started and Coach Taylor had started before Hill and continue to improve and gain the momentum that we're seeing today.
Awesome stuff, Coach. Coach Denson, you took the torch from Coach Pete Taylor, and what's some words or maybe some moments you want to talk about Coach Taylor?
Well, he was a great person, first of all. He was a great friend, and I considered him a friend, even though I played for him all those years. I was injured most of the time I was here with my arm I got here early on trying to start and play shortstop with a guy came out from basketball team named Frank Baker, who played another 10 years with the Yankees. And I was trying to throw with him and threw my arm up there in the field house when I was trying to do it. So, I got hurt when I was here, but Pete was always a fun type guy. And we had a lot of fun when we traveled, and he loved to go eat Cajun. He kind of spoke that Cajun accent a little bit, and he was just a good one. Great guy, great family.
Good stuff right there. And one cool dynamic in my son's high school, St. Thomas More here in Lafayette, his son, Doug Taylor, is a teacher there. So I get to share some stories about Pete Taylor too. So good stuff right there. Now, Coach Oz, the head man in charge right now, you took the torch from Coach Berry and doing an incredible job through 32 games, only lost one series so far. But as you know, his fan base has high expectations. Omaha or bust sometimes, as you know, which is a good problem to have. But Coach, sometimes pressure to the job or just advice or maybe things you want to pass on to these guys right here. How much do you interact with Coach Berry and Coach Denson on the job?
Well, a good bit. I would be foolish not to. A lot of wisdom. Especially with Coach Denson. With all the gray and all that good stuff with him. But Coach Berry, he's around, and I confide in him, lean on him. He gives me advice, and he knows exactly what I feel, obviously. And so is Coach Denson, in that regards. And I can remember some times this season, Coach Denson's been in the office and we're maybe eating lunch or whatever, and always has some good nuggets to share, that makes you kind of reflect and think about some things. So, I'm not an egocentrical person. I always want to learn, and I want, to get information from guys like this that I care about and respect, and it's priceless.
Oh, great stuff right there. And then Coach Oz, and this will be for all of you guys, but I'll start with Coach Oz. Sometimes, obviously, in your position as a head coach, when you're an assistant during your career, you got to make some tough decisions. Coach Oz, let's start with you. What's maybe the toughest decision on the job you may have ever had to make?
Well, there's a lot of different categories. I think you could look at that. Sometimes it's figuring out which pitch to call, and and so forth. But no, the tough decisions are when you're trying to decide on a young man if it's the right fit, right? Not hate using the word cutting guys or letting guys go. That's tough because you develop relationships with these kids and you care about them. But sometimes, you got to make tough decisions with that and do what's best for not only the program, but sometimes for those young men. So I think that would probably be, the worst part of this job is things when you have to make some tough decisions with the players. But definitely, I can remember calling that last fastball with Tyler Stewart against LSU in that regional, and I said, "All right, here we go. It's right here and now." So, and he ripped that sinker and struck him out. So that was relief.
One of my favorite moments of all time on campus, right there, Coach. Now, Coach Berry, surely you had to make a couple tough decisions in your career. What might have been one or two that maybe stick out?
I honestly, as I listened to Oz answer the question, I echo that. I think this profession's built on relationships, and it's young men that you're not only trying to develop on the field, but you're trying to develop them off the field and get them prepared for life after baseball. And sometimes that relationship doesn't go the entire college career. It may only go 1 year, but I think he said it best. You got to look out for the program, then you got to look out for the young man. So there are adjustments that every coach at this level has to make. But I think that if you keep it in perspective and you're looking out for the young man, this window of opportunity to play at this level gets shorter every year. And at the end of the day, you want them to be able to play baseball. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't happen at the school they're at, but it might open a window or a new door for them at another school. So the relationships that you build, and then being sometimes that parent and really trying to break it down what's best for them, that's probably the toughest decisions that I've had to make.
Good stuff right there. Coach Denson, maybe some tough decision or two you had to make during your coaching career.
Yeah, that there's no question. They both touched on the one that's the toughest, and that's when you have to cut people. Back in when I first started, we had some open tryouts at the beginning of the year, every year, and that day we had to make the cut down to get down to our roster that we had to have. It was always a tough day, a sleepless night for me the night before, and I had an assistant named Charlie Gray. Most of you guys around here with older timers would know Charlie Gray, and he was the best. But I was in there fussing about that morning in the office, saying, man, I hate cutting these guys. And Charlie Gray spoke up and said, "All right, I'll cut them for you. Let me cut them." And I said, "Okay, we'll do that this afternoon to end the practice. You go down in the corner of the field down there in the bullpen and you talk to him." So when it came time to do that, I went up to the dugout and I watched Charlie. He brought the guys in together and started talking to them. And in a minute, they come jogging up to me and in the dugout and said, "Hey, Coach Denson, Coach Gray said you had something to tell us." So that's the way he handled the cut. So anyhow, it's an awful tough decision, like these guys say. But I've had a lot of guys that happened to come back and say to me later, "Thank you for doing that," because it led to bigger and better things for me, and it helped me through life. And one of those guys is Hugh Freeze, and I wrote one when he was at Ole Miss making all that money up there. I wrote him a letter and said, "Hugh, you owe me a lot of money, don't you?" And he said, he said, "Why?" "Well, because if I'd have kept you on this team, you'd probably be an old baseball coach making about $25,000 a year, and you up there making $4 million at Ole Miss now." So, those kind of things happen later on. But it really, and seriously, I've had several guys come back and say that they appreciated that because it worked out better for them.
Oh, good stuff. Good takes right there. And one thing about baseball, I mean, lots of characters in baseball. That's why I think I've told all you before, it makes a great movie. I mean, my favorite sports movie is Major League. Let's start with you, Coach Berry. Was there ever a moment dealing with one of your players where you tried to be serious, but dang it, you couldn't help but laugh?
I'm sure there was, Marshawn. I think you've got to find humor, and especially in the toughest times. I know this sport's hard enough, and this profession's hard enough to go out and win consistently. People don't understand it. It's hard to win a game in college. It doesn't matter if it's baseball, basketball, football, what it is. You've got a lot of people that you're relying on to do the right things, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and you just got to find a way to laugh and try to ease the moment with your team. And certainly we've all been there where we've thrown our temper tantrums and thrown water coolers and everything else, slung bats, and Hill always threw balls, and everybody had to go pick them up for him. So but I think there's also times where you've got to try to reverse that and try to ease the moment and do something that's not characteristic of being upset, but just trying to loosen it. And certainly there were times that happened, especially probably when I was a pitching coach for Coach Palmer, and I would make the mound visits at that time, and the kid's really kind of struggling, and he's trying to throw strikes and do everything he can, but you've just got to kind of take his mind away from that. And certainly that was always a coaching moment that we all probably use.
Oh, good stuff. Coach Oz, you, I mean, a moment where maybe serious what you're trying to be, but couldn't help it. The spirit got a little lighthearted all of a sudden.
Well, I can think of, times with Coach Berry, with others I've coached with or coached for that maybe some of those heated, like Coach said, those, passionate, moments where there's some serious talking going on and some challenging and some stuff. And sometimes, the words that are said in that heat of the moment might, make somebody think back to a certain thing and strike a chord in them, a lighthearted chord. And it's funny to watch as as a coach sitting there, either the coach saying it or the coach listening and watching the players, and all of a sudden you see everybody's eyes start looking around at each other, and they're trying not to get out of character and laugh because something was said. So that's always been pretty comical as well. But kind of what Coach Barry said too, going out to the mound, there's been several times in my career I know that that guy just needed to change, thoughts and stuff. So you say something that something probably shouldn't repeat, but to them and try to get them to smile or try to get them to laugh and stuff like that. So you just got to feel your way with it for sure.
Yeah, Coach Denson. Oh, sorry, Coach. Would you say Coach Denson?
I was telling him, somebody asked me the other day, what's Oz saying to him? It was in a heated moment in the 8th and 9th inning the other day. And I said, he's probably asking them what they want for supper tonight. I don't know. So,
good stuff.
Exactly.
No, Coach Denson, I played football at Southern Miss in the 90s when you were the head man of Southern Miss baseball. And I've told this to my wife, numerous people. There weren't many people on that campus during the 90s that made me smile, no matter what kind of day I was having, like Coach Denson could. So, Coach, surely you had a moment or two where you try to be serious, but, couldn't help but make the moment a little light.
Well, yeah, I had a few that I threw the temper tantrum, and they make me laugh. So I always enjoyed passing you at Van Hall there in Marchant, popping you forearm.
Yeah. You challenge me all the time, Coach. I didn't want no part of you, though.
Hattie's Burgers and Blues. Burgers, craft beer, music. Downtown Hattiesburg.
Coach Oz, back to you right now. So, got a lot of young players at times you got to develop. And, what happens with young players, they get nervous. What's some advice that you give to young players to help them relax in the heat of the moment?
Well, I mean, you just try to let them know how much, you believe in them, they wouldn't be in that moment. So there's really nothing to prove at that point versus just trusting, and then kind of embracing it. And, it's why they came here for opportunity to play and stuff. So, they can't make more of it than it is when that time comes. Nerves are real. Anxiety is real. Anxiousness is real. I mean, but you try to, help guide them through it. And I think that's one of the toughest things in coaching is with these young players is, help developing them mentally versus physically. The physical part sometimes easier. You got to get them to where, their perspective is where it should be. And a lot of times they don't know. So that's our job, to try to direct that and try to keep them loose and engaged and all that good stuff.
Oh, good stuff right there. Coach Denson, I mean, when you had a young player kind of nervous in the moment, what were some things you maybe told the young man to help relax?
Just exactly what Oz just said. You try to build their confidence up, and that's the reason they're here to play, because you think they're good enough, and, you just got to do it. And it's such a tough game psychologically to everybody. I always use the example, as we all do, that for hitters, for instance, get in these slumps and so forth. But even if you're hitting good, 300 hitter only gets 3 hits out of 10, and the other 7 you want to fire Travis. So that's what all the fans say. So he's not hitting. So the hitting coach is not doing the job. So, but anyhow, that's hard to deal with. It 7 times out of 10, you don't get the results you want as a hitter standpoint.
Good stuff. Coach Barry, what were some things you did to help players relax in the moment?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just we talk a lot about just slowing the game down, controlling what you can control. A lot of times we get result driven, and that's all we focus on. As a hitter, getting that hit instead of trusting your at bat, having a good at bat, and simplifying it by let's put a good swing and hit the ball hard. I think when we start getting ahead of ourselves, I've got to get a hit or I've got to strike this guy out. It's about getting the out on the mound. It's not necessarily about striking the guy out in that moment. You got guys behind you willing to play defense. So it's those moments of just slowing that game down in the moment where things are really trying to speed up on you. And then also just like Oz said, trusting yourself, having confidence. A lot of coaching is the mental side, not necessarily the physical side, especially in baseball where there's so much failure that you have to deal with. Failure seems to be the majority of the time, and so we have to focus on that psychological side and really helping those guys understand what success is in our sport.
Oh, good stuff right there. And I got a kind of personal question, man, because baseball, one thing about it, as you well know way more than me, it can be a roller coaster ride of a season, man. And every now and then there's a loss you just can't explain. And a lot of times my brain just goes, man, it's just baseball, on to the next one. Do you guys simplify like a loss every now and then? It's just baseball, on to the next one. Anybody can take that.
Well, I will say this from a fan standpoint. There's nobody, all you guys on the internet that writing bad things about Coach Oz or Coach Barry or Coach me or whatever, you got to realize that nobody in the ballpark wants to win worse than we do. So, I got to understand that. And it's just people don't quite understand. They want to blame it on somebody every time, whether it be the hitter or the coach or the pitcher or the pitching coach. You always want to blame it on somebody else. And it's just the game happens that way. That's the way it works. You got these phases that happen. So, you got to just take it and let it roll off your chest. Now, it's hard. Oz gets in, I'm sure Sunday night, didn't sleep near as well as he did Saturday night. That's the way it works and because he wanted to win that game more than any of you guys watching on TV or any of you guys writing on the internet. So I guarantee you that's true.
Oh, I love that, Coach. Nobody wants to get on your bad side either, Coach Denson. I want to ask kind of a fun question to you three guys. First up, Coach Oz, if coaching wasn't your profession, is there something else outside of coaching you think you might have excelled at?
Probably being a guide for an outfitter for hunting or something. That's what I'd want to do. So, no, I don't know. Marshawn, it was, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have baseball. And it was evident to me my senior year in college that I'm fixing to graduate, wasn't a pro prospect, getting married that June, that if I can't play it, I want to coach it. So there was never another thing that really came to my mind. But if I had to choose something, it'd definitely be something with the outdoors.
Well, good stuff right there. And the theme to Coach Barry, I think, with his attire and where he's at, we have already answered what he'd excelled at if he wasn't coaching. But is there something maybe, you might have been really, really good at if it wasn't coaching, Coach Barry?
It would be something outside. I'm not a desk guy. I don't like being indoors too much. And certainly I would love to partner with a guide service with Oz. He and I enjoy hunting together in the fall. I mean, we've done it for many years. So I don't know if I could ever made a living doing it, but it would have definitely been something outside. As a kid growing up, especially in the summer months of high school, I worked for a friend of mine's dad who owned a farm, and we did a lot of hauling hay and that sort of thing. So I enjoyed that. That was good physical labor. And who knows, maybe one day I would have taken up something in the agricultural side of the business, but I was blessed enough for the Lord to lead me into baseball after my career ended as a player. And certainly I haven't second guessed his vision for me. So it's been, I've been very thankful for this opportunity that I've been given.
Oh, yeah. And as if you weren't a big enough deal. I mean, even added a bobblehead doll to your mix. Coach, you really made it big. Hey, Coach Denson, with you, man, I've been in sales for about 17 years now. And, in 84, you had to take over a program where they were giving away tickets. So I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I know you'd be a great salesman. You had to talk that program into buying tickets, man. And, but if you weren't coaching, Coach Denson, what's something maybe you might have excelled at?
Well, I was thinking about that while y'all were talking. I think I would have probably been an aeronautical engineer or something like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. No, I would be just like the other two. I can't sit inside. I got to be outside. It's probably in sales. Something. My sister and my mother had me going to medical school, and I took that MCAT test to get in, and I decided I didn't want to go to medical school after that. But I just sales or outside or something outside, that sort of thing. I enjoy stuff like that, construction work, all that kind of stuff outside. And we've hunted together. I've hunted together with these guys and fished together with them over the years, and that's something we've all done. And I think just about all coaches. You pull into a parking lot at a baseball field. I don't care. I still run regionals for the NCAA, and I don't care if I'm in Oregon or Texas or Mississippi or wherever. I pull into the parking lot and I look out there in the baseball. I know where the baseball players park because almost all their trucks are pickup trucks and are something that has to do with the outside stuff. And that's the type of people that play baseball, I think. They're good, I guess, blue collar people. What it does.
Great stuff right there, coaches. And, this is something I don't think the fans can get enough of watching this show. Just your favorite moments from the three of you, whether as an assistant, a head coach, man, there's too many to name, I know. But if you don't mind, I know we've done this before, but Coach Berry, first up, give us a moment, man, that's just big for you still with Southern Miss baseball.
Well, I'm going to give you two.
All right.
First, as an assistant, when we walked into Rosenblatt, the old Rosenblatt, when we qualified to be one of the 8 in 2009 left standing for the College World Series. I don't think there's any feeling that can duplicate that. And just seeing how a collective group of young men and coaches came together and a fan base that continued to just explode and grow and follow us to Omaha, that was second to none. Then personally, as a head coach, no doubt the night that we won the regional there in 22 against LSU. I mean, that was just something that I get chills right now, honestly, just thinking about that packed crowd and just everything that embraced that night or that day of us winning, or even that night on Sunday. And then we came back and beat them on Monday. But winning that regional there against LSU was probably, as a head coach, that was the most special moment.
Oh, man, at LSU, and I'm a Louisiana guy, man. I remember when that final strike went in, and it took me about 5 seconds to process. I'm looking at my wife. We won. We just won. We beat up. The place goes nuts. Coach Oz, there's so many moments with you as an assistant and head coach. What's something that maybe stick out for you?
Well, definitely the one coach just said there. That was, there's the energy, of that. Two looking at it from really three different ways. I remember the celebration amongst the coaching staff, hugging each other in that dugout, just special, because we know how hard it is, and to get that and what we went through and then watching the celebration of the players, man, that was really cool. And then the celebration of the fans, and this community and stuff. And that was, that's what it's about, and that was real special. And I'll tell you the other thing that, that there were so many moments last year for me personally that I was, meant so much to me. If you think back to Coach's last game against Lafayette, that epic game where Danny hits 2 grand slams, last regular season game, conference championship, dogpiling in Montgomery and winning that. Coaches last year, winning the regional at Auburn, coaches, and then taking Tennessee to the brink, man. That was, to me, that was because all last year, knowing it was his coach's last year, only thing that I cared about was that man going out on top. That was it. And to be able to see that come to fruition, that meant the world to me.
Oh, awesome stuff right there. And that last regular season game for you, Coach Berry, I've heard too many stories. It wasn't dry in the house, man, that night. So when you wave to him, man, it wasn't dry. Coach Denson, so many moments for you, with Southern Miss baseball. What's some maybe stick out to you?
I think the number one with me was in 1990 when we had been 2 or 3 years, been close to getting into the playoffs, into the regionals, and we had to go back home and watch it on TV the next day off of the road or wherever we were playing on Sunday. I'd always do it on Monday. And in 1990, I actually have a picture of this on my garage wall, the reaction of all the players and us when our name was called that we were playing in our first regional ever. NCAA regional was in 1990. And I think that was number one. One of the big things that brought tears to my eyes last year is at the end of Scott's good run there was staying late after the ball game, watching and seeing 2 or 3 of the players, actually 3 or 4, Danny and Dickerson, I know were 2 of them. I can't remember who all else was out there, just standing and sitting in their position, looking. And I decided to walk down there to them, give them a hug, and of course we all had tears in our eyes. And then watching the Tennessee team, who had they were so excited because they had just beat us, and it looked like they weren't going to beat us, and ended up beating us, and then them tipping the hat to Scott.
Oh, a great moment. Great moment. Yeah.
Stuck out more with me than anything else. And they didn't have anything to do with when I was coaching, but how proud I was of Scott and the team happened. And we all hated so bad that we didn't get there. And I know nobody hates it any worse than Scott. Just watching that after the game and then sitting around till about 2:30 out there at the ballpark, looking at the field, just quiet while that was a special moment.
Oh, good stuff right there. Chill bumps about kids. You not. People don't understand how starstruck these moments you guys are talking about. So, and we're getting close to the wrap of the show, and let's focus. You've all been on my show. I give a message for the fans. I ask you to do that, but I want to focus on this 24 season because Coach Oz is doing a hell of a job. He hasn't lost a series, but won all season long. So, I guess I'll go first up, Coach Denson. What's a message you have for the fans about this 2024 season?
Get off the internet. I
Get off.
Being Eagle Post and all things, and so it's easy to make a decision after it's over whether you should have punted or not, or call this pitch and that pitch. But and that's the way all the basic these guys that write are, that do that kind of stuff. They're the same guys that probably wanted to fire Coach Bauer when it happened. And you see what happened after that. So, that's the stupidity that we have to deal with today. And Oz has to deal with. And I feel bad for him for that. So, that's exactly the way I feel. I'm sorry.
Hey, I love honesty. And that's what I've always loved about you, man. When you gave me a hard time, you didn't pull punches, Coach Denson, and I loved you for it, man. You always put a smile on my face when you busted my chops. Coach Berry, what's a message you might have for the fans for this 24 season?
Well, I think more than anything, just continue to build our fan base and support Southern Miss athletics in every endeavor. On a note that Hill just mentioned, recruiting is tough, at any time. But when you have people out there that are blasting your sports and that sort of thing, a lot of times that's not helping us with recruiting at all. Recruits read these things and they see what our fan base is all about. So, certainly continue to be passionate about wanting to win, but I think word choice is it's so important in what you say out there because people are reading it. But continue to be passionate. Certainly, we're in times in college athletics right now where if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. So get behind. Southern Miss baseball. That's what we're here talking about today. Continue to get behind it. Support Coach Oz, his staff, and this program, and in every way that you can, because if we don't, then we fall behind, and we all want to continue to see this thing advance and get to Omaha, and that's certainly what I feel like that we can do.
Great stuff right there, Coach Berry. And now the head man in charge, Coach Oz. You heard it from Coach Denson. Coach Berry about the 24 season. What's a message you have for the fans 32 games in to this season?
Well, first, I want to say thank you, Coach Denson, for having. Sounds like I don't need to be on social media. I'm glad I'm not. So, but no, I mean it all. To me, that aspect of it, bring it. Let's put the target on your chest. That's what this program's all about. I mean, expectations are high because it's a great program that these men and Coach Palmer, Coach Taylor has created this. What we have here today, and to be able to try to continue that or further that, whatever you want to call it. I mean, are you kidding me? It's a dream. So there's nothing anybody can say out there that's going to deter me. I promise you. But it's a great group. It's a group that I think has grown. I really do. Yeah, there's been some frustrations. There always is in a baseball season. I mean, it is what it is. You got what you got. You got to deal with it. Whether it's injuries, this, that, or whatever, you just roll. And we try to lead these guys and keep them going, keep them positive, and keep playing hard and stuff. So to the fans, keep supporting these young men. They deserve it because they're a great bunch of kids. They're not perfect. They're not always going to be perfect. They're trying to win every game, and as we are too. So, but what our fan base does bring is powerful. It matters. Over in Mobile this past weekend, I mean, it was had a recruit that came and watched the game that's from Fairhope, and afterwards, his dad, said that well, you can see we made the right decision because our fan base outnumbered theirs at their own park. So just stuff like that. So it matters. Positivity matters, and them seeing that light. So keep supporting these young men.
Oh, I love it. Great message right there. I'm ready for the ride for the remainder of the 24 season. So, gentlemen, like I said, I was trying not to be starstruck during this interview, and hopefully I did a good job, not getting too starstruck here and there. But I can't thank you guys enough for being on my show today.
Thank you, Marshall.
Oh, love it. So I think,
Appreciate
just like normal tone, like we always do from three men who bleed black and gold, who are leading Southern Miss baseball to the top. I think a great thing for the three of us to close the show would be to give everybody a big Southern Miss
to the top.
To the top.
to the top.